Hello, everybody. Thank you for joining us at this episode of CEO Insights produced by the West Des Moines Chamber of Commerce. We are here with Blake Crow today. He's market leader for Eide Bailly. They have a beautiful office downtown, and I'm so excited that you're here, Blake.
Yeah, thank you. Appreciate the opportunity and looking forward to the conversation.
I am too. So tell us about Eide Bailly and what you do for companies and organizations.
Yeah, so we're a top 20 CPA and business advisory firm. So obviously everybody probably is familiar with public accounting sector, audit and tax services. That's kind of our bread and butter. But also a lot of additional consulting on top of that. I mean, we really try to be as much of a one-stop shop for our clients as possible. Everywhere from technology consulting, cybersecurity, CRM and ERP implementation. So really anything those small to medium-sized businesses might be looking for an advisory partner on, we have the ability to help those kinds of clients.
So you work with small, medium, and large businesses,
Yeah.
It sounds like.
Yep,
Oh,
absolutely.
great. Okay, that's wonderful. So tell us about, I know you have expertise and experts in a variety of sectors
Yeah.
across the business landscape. So tell us more about the sectors you specialize in.
Yeah, so I think one of the really positive things of our firm over the last number of years is we've decided that we best serve our clients by being specialists and experts in the areas that they're in. And so what that means now practically is, if you're a financial institution, a bank, a community or regional bank, that's largely what we specialize here in Des Moines in our office.
Okay.
But we also have the ability to export that expertise to our other offices around the country. So for example, I work with a number of banks throughout the country because that's my expertise.
Okay.
Now the firm has really, really strong expertise in other segments like healthcare, manufacturing and distribution, construction and real estate. And if we don't have the exact right person here locally, we have the ability to put together teams where you kind of get the best of both worlds, where you're going to have that local person who's here to manage that relationship, take care of your day-to-day needs, but we're also going to pull in the best possible resources throughout the country to make sure that you're getting that specialized kind of niche to your industry expertise, to make sure that you're getting the absolute most value out of our relationship as possible.
Neat. So how many offices do you have? How many employees do you have?
It's kind of an interesting, it's a little bit of a trick question because we're growing really, really rapidly. The firm has a really aggressive acquisition strategy. And so now we're probably right around 50 offices, probably 3,500 employees throughout the country. And it was always interesting because we used to always say west of the Mississippi. Our footprint was always west of the Mississippi.
Okay.
We started historically as an upper Midwest firm. Over the last number of years, branched all the way west to California. And then actually just in the last few weeks closed our first acquisition east of the Mississippi. So we're no longer, so we acquired a firm, brought on board Apple Growth Partners, which was a firm based out of Ohio. And so now our footprint just continues to grow. So whenever anybody asks me employees and office numbers, it's pretty fluid, honestly. So I always just say roughly 50 these days.
Gee, well, congrats on your growth
and
your plans for growing more. It sounds like that's incredible.
Absolutely.
So you mentioned cybersecurity, which is a hot button issue for many companies, organizations, especially healthcare, because I know cybersecurity, for some reason, they're targeting healthcare organizations. Tell us more about your cybersecurity options and offerings that you have.
Yeah, I always think of, and it's not necessarily my area of technical expertise, but I always kind of equate it to, if you get testing phishing emails, right? And so even things like is coming in and they will go into an organization and they'll set up those phishing emails, do the testing, right? So if somebody clicks on a bad link, hopefully it's, they would rather click on one that we sent you as a test than one that's actually malicious.
Yes.
All the way, they do obviously the consulting to remediate those things, best practices. I always think that they do social engineering, which I always think is really fascinating. So like I know personally in our banking client space, like we'll actually have people that will call banks like on the phone and represent, like pretending that they're a customer and seeing if they can sort of nefariously trick bank employees into giving. So it's kind of interesting, right? The things you always think of, kind of boring accounting, but when you think of these people like on the phone pretending to be other people, trying to like kind of white hat and white their way into systems and help
some
people.
Acting there.
Yeah,
right?
Exactly. So it's kind of fascinating. I always kind of laugh when I think about people like just calling our clients and pretending to be other people. So
it's so
interesting. Yeah.
So tell us, so you're an expert in the banking area. We have amazing, strong community banks, a lot of national banks here in our Greater Des Moines area. Tell us more about the banking industry and how you serve those clients.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, that's trying to be as much of a one-stop shop as possible. So again, your primary audit and tax functions, we do a lot of. We serve I think over 100 banks just in Iowa alone, so a pretty significant portion of that market. But also, one thing in the banking space that's rather prevalent these days is mergers and acquisitions, consolidation in that industry as well. And we're really, really heavily involved in that space as well. There's 4 or 5 of us in my office alone who, we're most transactions of one bank buying another in Iowa, we're involved on one side, the other, if not both.
Okay.
And so that would be, again, transaction volume is down historically a little bit right now. There's some sort of external macroeconomic factors that are kind of suppressing that. But I think there's a lot of pent-up demand in that space that we're going to see potentially break loose at some point. And we spend quite a bit of time doing that as well.
Wow, interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, very fascinating. Well,
Yeah.
we'll see all that come to fruition. So tell us about the culture at Eide Bailly. I think it's so much fun. I just visited your office last week, and it's a beautiful space. You can just tell the vibe is really cool and trendy and modern. So tell us about the culture.
Yeah, I mean, I think that since my entire career with the firm, which I started straight out of college, is the only place that I've ever worked.
Cool.
It's always held itself out as being different, as culture being a differentiator, and it's honestly sort of one of those things that's hard to just express in words or define, especially without sounding like cliche or cheesy or just words that don't matter. But I think what you said, right? When you come into our office, it feels different. The environment's different. The interactions with the people are different. I sort of sum it up as people like coming to work. They like each other. They like being in the office. A big topic these days is remote work and work from home and getting the people to come back in the office. And I've always felt like, especially in our Des Moines market, where I'm sort of responsible for overseeing that, it's been a complete non-issue. Like, I've never had to force people to say, hey, we're coming back to the office now. Our people just naturally want to be in the office. They want to be around each other. They want to, experience those. We always say, like, in public accounting, so much of the educational aspect comes through informal interactions, right? Like, there's things that I can intentionally teach you, but then there's just those conversations that we have when we're visiting in the office about a project, or you get stumped on something. And so you come into my office and say, hey, have you ever seen this before? And I think our people just, at least subconsciously, if not consciously, realize that that's where so much of the development comes, and they want to prosper and they want to grow in their careers. And so it's just sort of all naturally flows and fits together, which I think just, again, speaks to that culture that we've been able to create. So
I love it. Well, congratulations on that.
Thank you.
That's amazing. That's so cool. So your culture is incredible. It sounds like you are seeking talent, however.
That's it's a challenge, not just for Eide Bailly, but for the public accounting industry as a whole. Our numbers just don't really aren't working right now. I think they say we're retiring about twice as many CPAs as we're having passed the exam every year or graduating from college. I think that, through all of the universities, accounting graduates are down. And so right now we have, sort of your kind of perfect storm economic mismatch where our demand is very high. The need for our services is as high, if not higher, than it's ever been. And that there's just not enough people coming through. And so, I mean, I think the first thing is obviously that we would encourage people, like, if you want to have a degree that gives you the ability to experience that culture like we were talking about, and have, great job prospects and have a great career, it's an amazing industry. Like, I always talk about, like, even for me, when I graduated college, like, it was the only degree where the employers were coming to campus seeking us, and where some of my friends in other degrees, they were going out, they were looking for jobs. It's even more so this way today, where we are on campus. We're starting with freshmen, if not like through the CPA Society, going down into high schools and starting to. So it's extremely competitive between all the firms. We're all in the same position, and so it's up to us to try to leverage that culture, leverage our work environment, and to try to make sure that we're being successful in what's unfortunately somewhat of a limited talent pool numbers wise today. So
sounds like a marketing opportunity. Somebody should do a big
banners and I know, like, the state CPA Society.
Career. You can make a lot of money and do great.
It's we spend a lot of time with, both as a firm, as the state CPA Society. The universities themselves, we spend a lot of time working with the universities because they obviously want their numbers up in those programs. So I think there's a lot of great organizations working towards the problem, and we're just kind of having to chip away at it little by little. So
Well, so you're very successful, obviously, right out of college, Eide Bailly, your
Yeah.
entire career. That's really neat. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
So what advice would you give young people now that are going into college or thinking about a career? Obviously, this is a great career path,
Yeah.
but what special advice might you give
Yeah.
youth?
When I talk to our people internally, because this is a conversation that we have a lot. It's a nice part of the job that I enjoy, right? Getting to mentor and coach people through their careers.
Cool.
I always encourage people to view their career as a career and not a job. I think that if you view it as, I am paid to be here from 9 to 5, I do what is asked of me and nothing more, and then in return I receive a paycheck for that. Like, that's a perfectly fine way to go through life, but I think that you're only ever going to get out of it what you put into it. And I think that sometimes, especially in our industry where we don't necessarily have, we kind of, the urban legends exist still about, the hours and the difficulty of some of the challenges of our industry, which I think are largely no longer the case. But people sort of hear that and they think, oh, well, you mean I have to work 100 hours a week? And that's certainly not what I'm saying at all. I think that just I've always found that, like, a natural inquisitiveness and curiousness about the industry that you're in, and wanting to dig into that and wanting to learn more. Like, I've always used myself as an example. Like, even when I'm not working, like, I'm always reading, right? I'm whether it's on Twitter or the internet or the newspaper, like, things that I find fascinating in my industry that just provide me broader context, broader vision into my industry, so that I'm able to come in and have those conversations with my clients. And again, nobody ever told me to do that. That's not on my, work provided to-do list for the day. It's just having that inquisitiveness, being curious, so that, I'm owning this as my career and not just my job.
Love it. Love that. Love that passion. And
Yeah.
that's incredible. Congratulations on
Thank you.
all your success,
Yeah,
Eide Bailly's success. They're
you.
a President's Council member within the West Des Moines Chamber of Commerce. We love working with you all. Thank you for helping keep our bank strong, which a lot of our banks are keenly
Absolutely.
involved in the West Des Moines Chamber. So thank you so much, Blake. Really appreciate you and all that you do for our community and your employees. And
well, thank you.
so,
appreciate the opportunity today and enjoying the council as well. And looking forward to more.
Thank you, Blake. Thank you for joining us at this episode of CEO Insights. And as you know, the West is yet to come. Thank you.